Hi, this is Jo Marie Domino from Vippies Designs and Decoupage Rocket Girls. I'm back with another decoupage video. In this video, I want to go over some of the crafting supplies you need to decoupage. Probably many of these items you already have, but most importantly, I'm going to give you some decoupaging tips, and they're very helpful tips, and they're tips I wish I had when I first started decoupaging. All right, so let's begin. This is one thing every craft table should have, and this is moist wipes or baby wipes. I have found that these will get glue and paint off my hands quicker than washing them with soap and water, and then I don't have to leave my craft table. Another thing I like to have is this is a coffee can I decoupaged, and I like to have it on my or near my crafting table, because when you're working with napkins, these little small pieces, and you're cutting them up, the odds of them getting into a garbage can on the floor are probably pretty thin, and you're just going to be vacuuming a lot. So if you have this on your table, you just put your little scraps right inside. Okay, so working surface. I like to use newsprint, just like this, and I use it over and over, and I flip it over, and I like it better than plastic, because I found with plastic, if I get paint on it or glue on it and it doesn't dry, odds are it's going to end up on my project. That's why I love working on newsprint. Okay, paper plates. If you have ever watched any of my videos or seen my tutorials, you know I work on paper plates quite a bit. And I like it because I can work on a project, something small like this. I can paint it, whatever I want to do. I could put it off to the side. I'm not going to touch it, and it's going to be pretty safe while it's drying. So paper plates are great to have, especially for small items. Okay, Mod Podge is merely a decoupage glue. It is one of several different brands that you can use. It's not like white school glue. This is actually thinner. So if you want to use white glue, you have to dilute it with a little bit of water. Okay. Now, this stuff does get very sticky, and of course, you need to put a little bit of petroleum jelly like this right around in here, so that when you're gluing it and you're putting this off and on, it's not going to get stuck. And speaking of getting stuck, glue a lot of times accumulates around the mouth of the jar. Take a tissue or a napkin or something every once in a while and give that a wipe, because what happens is that gets very clumpy, and then it falls into the glue, and then when you're working on a project, of course, it's going to be exactly where you don't want it to be. So those are a couple good tips when you're using your decoupage glue. Okay, now on to paint. Most things that you decoupage, you're going to use a base coat of paint. I use a lot of white, so I always buy a big container of white. It's just regular acrylic paint. I do buy little small bottles too, because a lot of times I add color to my decoupage project when I'm done. You can also use spray paint. The thing about spray paint is you want to be really careful where you use it. It has to be in a ventilated area, and please read the instructions. It doesn't always work on all different items. You definitely want to see what the can says. Okay, so now I have plastic cups. This is from my friend Sandy, and what we do is, and if we're doing a small object like a rock, I can paint all the way around like this. I have a lot more of the edge area that I can do, and I don't have to worry about getting paint or having it stick to the plate. So to do the paint, you definitely want to have some plastic or paper cups. All right, so now on to brushes. Brushes, I have found that different brushes work differently on whenever it is that you're decoupaging or painting. So have a nice selection and test it on different things, like on metal and on glass or whatever you're doing, and that's the brush you want to go with. And of course, the smaller the piece of tissue that you're decoupaging, of course you want to think about using a smaller brush. Okay, so now we'll talk about the decorative decoupage napkins. Vippies Designs has an ever-changing and growing supply of decoupage napkins. They come in different sizes and all different types of designs. Actually, they even have vintage napkins, and some of them, like this one, they're really quite beautiful. And if you go to their website, you're going to find you can just buy one napkin if you want, and they start at around 30 cents each. So definitely check out and see what it is that they have. Okay, now when I'm looking for napkins to use, I like a napkin like this, because when I open it up, it has 4 images on it. So that means I have the potential to do 4 projects, okay? That's why I did this one bird, and I can do another 3 or even something else. All right, now working with napkins, this is probably some of the best hints that you're going to get. This is where I really wish I had known. Okay, so when you're working with napkins, they have plies, they have back layers behind the printed layer. Sometimes you have to take 2 layers off, sometimes you have to take 1 layer off, but you only want that top, thin, beautifully printed, it looks like this when you're done, napkin. Okay, so now removing the plies. That's a little bit tricky, but this is a good tip. Put a little bit of glue in between 2 fingers like this. Where is it? Okay, and then just put the napkin in between it and pull. Oh, look at that. I got them all pretty quick too, right? And there you go. Okay, so I save my plies like this is here, and I actually use them. It's one of the things that I could use to actually clean the inside of this jar. Okay, now one tip I'm going to tell you is if you need to cut the napkin, you do want to leave the plies on first, because it's really hard to cut this thin little layer. Okay, the next product I'm going to go on to is, this is something that's pretty new to me and I absolutely love it. It's called a water brush, and what it is has like a little tube at the end that holds water, and then has this little brush, and that's where the water comes out of. So why do you need this brush? Okay, when we're doing decoupage, we want the edges to blend into whatever we're adhering it to. So this is what it looks like when I'm done. So you can see, once I decoupage that on, it's going to blend in so nicely. Okay, so how do we do that? We use this. You could use a brush with water, but if you do a lot, you're going to want this. And what you do is you're just going to trace around with the brush like this. Look, see, it's dispensing the water, and I'm just going to pick at it. And I can do this so quickly now with this brush. I can go all the way around. And once I'm all done, I can go ahead and adhere it. Well, I'd let the napkin dry a little bit first, and then I could adhere it to whatever it is I'm decoupaging. But I'm going to give you one little tip about the pen, the brush actually. Don't fill the brush all the way. I did that, and I had a really hard time getting the water out. So only fill it maybe 2/3 or a half. Okay, love that pen. All right, another thing you should have is emery boards. Now, the reason you should have emery boards is sometimes when you're decoupaging something, the napkin is hanging off a little bit, and you want to have a nice clean edge, and you take an emery board and you go like this, the little piece of napkin comes off and you have a nice finished edge. So that's very important. Okay, your best friend with decoupaging is saran wrap. We use saran wrap to protect the napkin when we're putting it onto an object. That napkin, that little thin layer, is very, very fragile once it gets wet. So when you're manipulating it and you're trying to get it onto your object, you want this to protect it while you're doing that. Okay, so when you're done, of course, now you want to protect your item that you're decoupaging. You spent a lot of time on it. Now you want to make sure it's going to be okay. So there's a couple different sealants you can use. First of all, with finishes, there's gloss finish, there's satin finish, and there's matte finish. So it all depends upon what you want. Also, something you should keep in mind is, where is this item going to go? If it's going to go outside, like a lot of our rocks go outside, make sure it's weather resistant when you go to buy it. Now, I like Door Clear. Door Clear gives a really good, nice shine like this. It's very, very shiny. But what I do is I give it a quick spray of this sealant, and then 2 coats of this, and then 1 quick spray of this, and I get something that's really, really glossy. And look, I'm back to the cups again. Why would I have the cups? I could put it down, I could put the object down that I want to seal and spray, and I don't have to worry so much about the drips. Okay, so I put some things together that I want to show you that you can start. I know some of these are in my first video, my first beginner's video, but I'm going to show you a few other things. They're simple things that you have probably around the house or are very inexpensive to buy. Here's 2 things I made, and these were actually scraps of napkin, and they were just ordinary books, little notebooks that I got like at the dollar store. This is something I picked up at a thrift store, so it's cute. This has a vintage napkin on it. And look, Vippies has these tiny little calendars that you can use. Here's something fun. These are tiles I bought at one of those big home improvement centers, and I just painted it white, and then I decoupaged this beautiful rose. Here's some shells, scallop shells. They're always fun. I painted them white. Clam shells, of course. You can do the inside, and you can do the outside. Those are fun. Now, these are some things I've just started to use. Of course, driftwood is always great if you have it. Here's a beautiful one I did with boats. I really liked how that came out. This is something new I've been doing too. And these are carpenter shims, but they make really nice little ornaments that you can use. Another thing that's readily available is just your tin cans. You just save them, clean them, and then you can decoupage on them, and then you can add a little handle like that. Now, there's one more tip I want to give you. I have to go back to the napkins before I forget. This is very important. As you start to decoupage, you're going to find that you're going to collect napkins, and this is definitely one thing I wish I had when I first started. You want to come up with whatever theme it is that you're working on or whatever category. So say love, Valentine's Day, wedding. You want to get a Ziploc bag. You want to put a nice heavy piece of cardstock inside. Then all of your extra napkins, okay, you put them right inside. And what I also like to do is I put another smaller bag inside, just like this, where I keep all my little scraps, because a lot of times I can use these again on other smaller projects. So I think I covered a lot of basic supplies, and I think I gave you around 14 hints that I think you'll find helpful. And so for more information on the products and the napkins, you can go to www.vippies.com. And on behalf of Vippies.com and Decoupage Rocket Girls, this is Jo Marie Domino, and thank you for watching my video.